I really feel like I need to take a minute and kind of brag about these cucumbers. There are a lot of flowers on there, and a lot of female flowers. I am hopeful we have plenty of pollinators doing their part, because we are expecting a lot of cucumbers. There's that beautiful cayenne. Oh, it fell off. I guess I'm gonna have to eat it. Yeah, that pepper fell off, so I can't let it go to waste, right? That's nice and sweet. That's good. That's not hot at all. There's no heat. No heat whatsoever. But we have found a very early fruit on peppers. Really doesn't have a lot of heat. There's a tremendous amount of conversation right now in the forums regarding fertilization. Now is a great time to have that conversation, because that's what we should be doing with our gardens. We're in that shoulder season between germination, plant growth, and flowering and fruit production, or harvest even. So fertilizing our garden is what we should be doing right now. There's multiple types of fertilizer. Specifically, there's organic, and then there's chemical fertilizers. And organic fertilizers are important to people sometimes, you know, for whatever health reasons. They just prefer to use organic fertilizer. And that can come in the form of blood meal, bone meal, feather meal, azomite, and the combination of all of those items is important. Traditionally speaking, organic fertilizers take a little longer to break down in the soil and become available to plants with the help of oxidation, and more specifically worms. Worms are one of our greatest benefits in the garden. They will take that blood meal and bone meal and feather meal and azomite. They will cycle it through their body and make it available to the plants. Part of growing your own garden is that you get to graze. Have some squash. And fresh peas. Whatever you like. Go out and graze your garden. Just stop right now, just pause this and get up and go graze your garden. Go graze. But come back and finish this video. Don't just walk away and not come back. Chemical fertilizers are very traditional for most gardeners. They're readily available and easy to use. Chemical fertilizers come in a couple of different forms: granular or powdered. Powdered fertilizer is water soluble. Chemical fertilizers, after they dissolve, are immediately available to the plants. And so gardeners and farmers like to use chemical fertilizers just because there is no wait time for the availability of the nutrients. When you buy fertilizer, there's going to be 3 numbers on the package. You always see it. Whatever it is that you buy, it might be a 5-3-2 or a 10-10-10 or a 13-13-13. What those numbers represent is the macronutrient density of that package. Those numbers represent, first, nitrogen, that's the N value, phosphate, which is the P value, and K, which is potash. Nitrogen is going to be the higher number a lot of times on fertilizers, and it's a super important macronutrient because it's not readily available naturally. So a lot of times gardeners and farmers will apply high nitrogen fertilizers to their crops to really stimulate growth. Nitrogen's purpose to a plant is to help it produce proteins and basically to create new cells, right? So if we want fast growth and rich green color, we apply high nitrogen fertilizers. The second number in your NPK is your phosphate. Now you want to make sure that you apply that early in the plant development. Maybe even a pre-plant fertilizer. Phosphate is important for healthy root growth. Roots are the foundation of the plant. You want to make sure that you have good roots so that they can take up the other nutrients and the micronutrients in the soil. The third number is your potash. And potash is responsible for overall vigor of a plant. It helps with fruit production and disease resistance. So that's why we need potash. That's why we need potash as a macronutrient. One of the next big questions that comes up is how much do I apply to my plants? And that's going to depend on your soil. I highly recommend getting a soil test done. You can send that to a lab through your extension office, and when they return that, they will make recommendations based on what you plan to do. You can say general gardening, and they will give you recommendations on the application of chemical fertilizers specifically. So in that soil analysis, they will make a recommendation of pounds of fertilizer per acre, one, and they may even give you recommendations of pounds of fertilizer per row foot. Like for me here, I'm really not interested in broadcast application. I'm not trying to fertilize and spend my money in between the rows. I want to spend my money right where the plant is. For this particular garden spot, we have drip irrigation installed, right? And so I am able to inject fertilizer into my garden spot. And that puts my investment right where the plant is. Granular fertilizer granular fertilizer can also be applied to the rows, and it will be generally either in pounds per foot or it will be in cups per foot, generally speaking. So prior to planting all of this, I put about 1 cup of 10 fertilizer per row foot as a pre-plant fertilizer application. Then I came in and installed my drip irrigation, and I let that sit there for about a week before I planted my plants. That gave that fertilizer the opportunity to incorporate into the soil and be available to the plants as soon as they were planted. Something else to take a look at is what types of plants are you growing? Peas, beans, and legumes are nitrogen fixing plants. And what that means is they actually absorb nitrogen from the atmosphere and they put that nitrogen in nodules in the ground. So legumes don't need a high nitrogen fertilizer because they are able to take that directly from the atmosphere and actually store it in the ground for whenever they need it. Onions are a high nitrogen feeder, so they require a lot of nitrogen. When we plant onions, within 2 weeks we'll come back with ammonium sulfate, which is a high nitrogen fertilizer, and we will put it in the middle of the row every 2 weeks. And what that does is that helps the onion produce as many leaves as possible. The number of leaves on an onion are representative of the number of layers in that onion. So the more leaves you grow, the more layers you will have, and the larger the bulb is going to be. So feeding a lot of nitrogen to an onion plant is beneficial because it's going to give us a bigger yield, a larger onion. Corn is in the grass family, and it requires a lot of nitrogen as well. All grass type crops require high nitrogen because again, we're growing foliage or leaves first, and then we're producing the fruit. Corn, ears of corn, onions, bulbs. All of your alliums, like onions, require high nitrogen fertilizer. Things like cucumbers really need a balanced fertilizer. Squash, a balanced fertilizer, does very well. A 10, 13, and that's really all you need for those types of crops. That's the basics of garden fertilization. I hope it's been helpful to you. Do your own research, and I think that's going to be helpful to you also. YouTube videos are great and I enjoy making them, right? But they are not going to cover every single aspect of what's happening in your garden, for your soil type, your zone, and what you're growing. So I highly recommend do your research, study about your plant types, study about the types of fertilizer that are available, organic and chemical, Talk to your neighbors. Get involved in forums. Ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. And a lot of times, somebody's already experienced what you're going through, and they can help you get over the hump of fertilizing your garden so that you can be successful in growing food for your family. That's it, folks. We appreciate y'all coming and spending time with us here at Pruitt Homestead. We love that you take time to spend part of your day with us. It means a lot. We hope you have an awesome day. Get out and grow something. It's for your family. Y'all take care. God bless. Keep our family in your prayers.